So, although Gavin Newsom has made it clear that he thinks prayer is a joke, I'd like to extend my prayers to the entire community of Minneapolis. Yesterday, on August 27th, 2025, a tragic shooting occurred at Annunciation Catholic School in Minneapolis, Minnesota. During an all school mass where a 23-year-old transgender female fired 116 rifle rounds through stained glass windows, killing two children ages 8 and 10 and injuring 18 others, including 15 children and 3 elderly parishioners. The shooter's YouTube videos revealed journals with violent thoughts, references to other mass shootings, and hateful phrases on their weapons, including anti-Semitic messages, threats about President Trump, and even using Jesus as shooting target practice. The FBI is investigating the attack as domestic terrorism and an anti-Catholic hate crime, while the community mourns with vigils and victim support funds. Today, we'll be discussing this growing trend of what many are calling trans terrorism and why I am surprised that any of you are surprised. Thank you all for tuning in. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Welcome to Respectfully. So again, this entire thing is unbelievably tragic. It's insane that this continues to happen, and that once again, it seems like there's a pattern to the type of people who do this. Now, I'm going to do my best to avoid saying this person's name, because what we do know is a lot of these people who go and conduct mass shootings, the reason that they do it is because they want a level of infamy. So I would rather not even know their names. I hate to even show their face, but for the purposes of this video, we'll just be referring to them as the shooter. Now, first, I want to give you guys the police briefing that recently happened, just so you can have more context of the severity of this whole situation.
At this point, we know we have a total of 19 victims from this tragedy. 2 were young children, ages 8 and 10, that were sitting in the pews at Mass when they were shot and killed. They were pronounced deceased on the scene. There were another 14 children between the ages of 6 and 15 that were injured by gunfire. There were also 3 adults in their 80s that were parishioners here attending Mass that were also shot in this incident. The coward that shot these victims took his own life in the rear of the church. That coward has been identified as Robin Westman. No prior criminal history. As to the weapons used to perpetrate this horrific attack, there was a rifle, a shotgun, and a pistol. All 3 had been lawfully purchased by the shooter. At this stage, we believe that the shooter had acted alone. We are also aware of a manifesto that the shooter had timed to be released on YouTube. This manifesto appeared to show him at the scene and included some disturbing writings. That content has since been taken down with the assistance of the FBI.
Repulsive. Like I said, these people want clout. These people want attention and infamy, and it's disgusting the type of things that go through their head that lead to them doing this. It's like, okay, we get it. You despise yourself, but do you really have to take the lives of innocent children with you? Like, you can't allow these kids to go and live their lives without being miserable like you. It's repulsive. And just to show just the humanity of how, or the inhumanity of this whole situation, here's a child's reaction to what they saw during the whole incident.
My friend ran, someone helped him run out. He saw him, he was wearing all black and he had a ski mask on. I was down, so I didn't really look up. I mean, he got shot through the stained glass windows, so they're probably ruined. And then my friend Victor, he was laying on top of me, making sure I was safe, and he got hit. So that was really brave of him.
And you have a neck on your neck?
Yeah, that was, I don't even know what it's from. Kind of looks like debris or something.
I have chills just watching that because of how disturbing this whole thing is. Again, these are children that are going to be traumatized for the rest of their lives. How unbelievably awful this whole situation is. Now, one of the many things that is just so perplexing to me is how the left is acting like they don't understand the motive here. We have such a clear motive here. Like the officer said earlier, this shooter left all sorts of manifestos out and very disturbing videos. I don't even want to show you all of the different context that was found on the YouTube and everything, and I don't understand how this person wasn't on the FBI watch list. I find it kind of crazy that these social media platforms can monitor every single thing that a conservative has to say, especially if it has to do with the government or the pandemic or anything of that sort, but they can't find these people that are clearly in need of being on the FBI watch list. But this person has been putting out all kind of cryptic messages for a while and has made it clear how they view themselves. You know, here is this one image that we found where this shooter is draws an image of himself looking in the mirror with this demonic image. And we have a translation of what some of this text means up here. Do we have that accessible, you guys? Yeah, let me put my eyes on y'all. Y'all know I'm blind as a bat. Just so you guys can see, it says, when will this end? Help me. I don't want to help. And then it says, off yourself. Absolutely repulsive, the type of stuff that this person is writing. And we'll get into more of the images, you know, coming up here. But as we are looking at this situation and, you know, we should be having a serious conversation about mental health, about, you know, this reoccurring issue of transgender people being the ones committing murder. Instead, you have people like Gavin Newsom who take this as an opportunity to not only attack the right, but to mock prayer. Yeah, so let's pull up this tweet from Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom says, so the context of this is Caroline Leavitt talks about, you know, keep the power of prayer and how this is something that obviously is going to bring a lot of people comfort as much as possible is praying. Gavin Newsom takes the opportunity to go, these children were literally praying as they got shot at. First of all, the grammar is wrong, but that's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. You know, I've 501c3 guidelines, so I'm going to keep it cute, you know, here at PragerU. But let me just say this. I can't stand Gavin Newsom. There's a million reasons why I don't like Gavin Newsom and I don't respect Gavin Newsom. But even with how much I despise that man, I thought that this was beneath him. Are you insane? There are literally dead children and you're taking this as an opportunity to dunk on the right. And you're taking this as an opportunity to make fun of prayer and make fun of the power of prayer. Doesn't he claim to be a Christian man too? How dare you? Gavin, that is disgusting. Okay. Then you have the Minneapolis mayor, who his response about the thoughts and prayers is, in my opinion, equally disgusting. So let's pull this up.
And don't just say this is about thoughts and prayers right now. These kids were literally praying. It was the first week of school. They were in a church. These are kids that should be learning with their friends. They should be playing on the playground. They should be able to go to school or church in peace without the fear or risk of violence, and their parents should have the same kind of assurance.
So here you go. You see that they're all pretty much utilizing the same prayer book. They probably got all got the same messaging campaign of trying to degrade the thoughts and prayer element of this. And it's just so interesting to observe every time that there's a mass shooting or a tragedy of this regard. You know, you have one of three discussions that's bound to happen. Are they going to talk about gun laws? If it's the left, they're going to talk about gun laws. If it's the right, we're going to talk about mental health. Or if it's the left, they're going to talk, or if the person, let me clarify, if the perpetrator is right wing or has any affiliation to the right wing, they're immediately going to try to make it about gun laws or white supremacy. But if it is someone that's on the left, we're going to talk about mental health, which I think that's the more relevant conversation here. But, you know, it's crazy to me that the left is taking this as an opportunity to talk about how we need to get rid of handguns when really that all you're saying there is that you want to take away guns from the people that are actually going to do something good with it. You know, you have this mayor right here. This is the man that has turned his city into a safe haven for literal criminals and for mental illness. This is the same man who, during everything that was happening with George Floyd over in Minneapolis, he was kneeling for George Floyd, literally. This is the man that was worshiping George Floyd at the casket and not taking any accountability for what was going on in his city. Sorry, bear with me 1 second. My computer is messing up, y'all. Can't have nothing. 1 second. Don't mind me. I just want to make sure we cover everything that's here. So yeah, this is a man that's been kneeling for George Floyd, turned his city into an absolute disaster. And he wants to sit here and act like he is high and mighty and like we should be talking about gun violence rather than talking about the lack of accountability that's in the city and the environment that he has created for himself. Okay. This is also the same man that has sat back and allowed these trans activists and Antifa activists to firebomb Teslas. Okay. But we're supposed to sit here and think that he has any kind of credibility. Okay. To tell us that the way that this should be handled when this is all happening in his city. Okay. And when we talk about this shooter a little bit and this alleged trans woman and who this person was, it's honestly repulsive that this person was not on any kind of FBI watch list, let alone being someone that was allowed to go and purchase a gun. You want to talk about gun laws? I feel like if we're going to talk about gun laws, we should start the conversation with talking about people who have clear mental illness and someone that has mental health disorder by definition. Okay. Now, there's a list here that Libs of TikTok made that really just like sent a shiver down my spine. You can see a bunch of these different recent shooting incidences that happened and how you have one trans, next one gender fluid, next one trans, next trans, non-binary, transgender fluid, trans. And I'm not saying that every single person that is committing a mass shooting is trans. And I'm not demonizing every single trans person that has ever walked this earth. We're not doing any of those things here. But what we are pointing out is the fact that there is a pattern that's happening. There's nothing wrong with pointing out the clear pattern of these people who have a diagnosed mental health disorder, or at the very least self-diagnosed, and they are going and getting these guns, whether legally or illegally, and then carrying out this act. And then we are supposed to sit here and act like there's nothing wrong there. Like there's no fire to go along with this smoke. Okay. That's insane. Jesse Waters actually put this on Fox as well, just to show the way that there's this massive cover-up campaign that seems to be happening. Every time this happens, the left wants to point the finger in every direction rather than pointing it at the clear issue that is sitting right in front of us.
And politicians should stop elevating the trans issue like it's the civil rights struggle of the 21st century. You see it all over Minneapolis.
Minneapolis will continue to be a safe haven for our trans community.
For being a safe haven for transgender individuals.
We have sued them for gender-affirming care. Yes, we are not going to scapegoat our transgender community.
When our children tell us who they are, it is our job as grown-ups to listen and to believe them.
It's our job to listen and believe them. I think your job is actually to protect, the children and the citizens that are within your jurisdiction. But who am I to say that? So again, this person acquired the gun legally, but we're not supposed to talk about the clear mental health issues that were going into it. Now, this is another video coming from that mayor of Minneapolis, what they had to say about the fact that people are pointing out that it was yet another trans shooter.
I have heard about a whole lot of hate that's being directed at our trans community. Anybody who is using this as an opportunity to villainize our trans community or any other community out there has lost their sense of common humanity. We should not be operating out of a place of hate for anyone. We should be operating from a place of love for our kids.
Yeah, so this isn't, nothing that I'm saying here is out of a place for hate. Yet, like, I get it. It can sound harsh. I get it sounds harsh when you call out the patterns that we're all seeing. But if we're having a serious conversation, we are fed up with seeing children die in the same circumstance over and over again. I saw that Charlie Kirk tweeted this, and I'm not going to lie, when I very first read it, I thought about it. I was like, is it a little harsh? Charlie says, if you are crazy enough to want to hormonally and surgically change your sex, you have a mental disorder and you are too crazy to own a firearm. Might be harsh, but did he lie? Did he lie? There is a very disturbing element to how far these people are willing to go in order to change who they are. And then we are supposed to pretend like they're sane enough to have a firearm. You know, I'm not going to say, even though I want to be mad at it, I'm not going to sit here and say we need to ban all things transitioning wise for grown adults, for grown consenting adults. I'm not going to say that, but I do feel like there are certain sacrifices you make when you go and you do something like that. If you're going and chopping off your genitals, you should not be owning a gun. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just view it in the same lens of many other mental health disorders. If that's what makes you happy, cool. But it, to me, and to everybody that's paying close attention, it doesn't seem like you are of the right state of mind to be holding these dangerous weapons, especially, you know, if from the left who talks about gun control and wants to constantly talking about taking people's guns away, take them away from the people who are mentally ill. Because frankly, I've had enough of giving people neurological, chemical imbalances when they're already mentally unwell. And you add this firearm into the equation and you have a society that is insane. Okay? We're talking about protecting trans kids and trans youth and transgenderism all the time, but how about we start talking about protecting kids from trans? How about we start talking about protecting kids from putting themselves in this situation of puberty blockers and all these different things and glorifying their clear delusions and making them feed into these delusions and then pretending to be shocked when something like this happens down the road. Okay? This is out of control. The left is acting like they don't understand the motive when the motive is crystal clear. So I want to pull up just some of the things that has been uncovered from this shooter. First, you have target practice of Jesus. Yeah, totally not a red flag. Totally not a red flag there that this person is shooting a photo of Jesus Christ to prove a point of what? To prove a point of what? Then you have this demonic mirror situation that we showed you earlier. Pull that back up again. Insane, viewing himself as the devil and talking to himself about wanting to off himself. And there's a video that I didn't even want to play because it disturbed me personally so much. I don't even want to put that demonic imagery in front of you, but it's the dude breathing heavily and sliding his, I don't know if it's a knife or a pen, sliding something, stabbing. It's an image or a drawn image of what the church looks like. And mind you, if you're wondering the connection between this person and the church, his mother used to work at this church. So he draws the pews and stabs in the middle of the church and says, this is where he's going to off himself. Yeah, because that's totally somebody of a right state of mind. Then you have all types of notes that he wrote on the gun, notes, whether it was threatening the president or talking about Jews, or some of them were ironically homophobic. Like, all pretty much you name the demographic, this person hates them. And that got me thinking, this person doesn't just hate Jews, doesn't just hate blacks, doesn't just hate Catholics, doesn't just hate Jesus. This person also hates gay people. So this person hates everyone. So it got me thinking, why is this person so angry? And then you have to look at the trans community in general. You have to look at the fact that their demographic has now become so oversaturated that they're realizing that they're not special anymore. Once upon a time, going and changing your gender made you feel like you were special. You felt like you were unique. Or when that wasn't unique enough, they started saying that they were non-binary. But once again, that doesn't make you special anymore. So now they blame the world and they blame the church for all of their problems. They don't want to take responsibility. They don't want to take accountability. They instead just want to blame everybody else for their problems. And that's why they're the miserable people who go and take the lives of these innocent children. Okay, you have the radical trans people who try to conflate their issues to everyone else's. I also saw this sign, slightly unrelated, but same energy. Winsome Sears had a rally not too long ago, and this sign has been living in my head rent-free. It says, "Hey, Winsome, if trans can't share your bathroom, then blacks can't share my water fountain." These people want everybody to be a part of their struggle. These people want, the trans community just wants to be a collective group of Harriet Tubmans in drag. That's what it feels like at this point. Like, this is insane. Insane how they make everybody's issue their issue, and they try to conflate it to every struggle that's actually a real struggle rather than a self-imposed one. Okay, our society, moral of the story, our society has become so comfortable promoting paganism and mental illness that these have become the results, but nobody wants to talk about the reoccurring issue of trans terrorism. It's a problem. And I'm not attacking every single trans person out there. I'm attacking the ones that have clear mental illness, clear delusion, and no sense of self-awareness. And I'm attacking the people who want to make every excuse in the book rather than pointing out what happens when you have a society that does not prioritize the truth and protecting groups that need to be protected in lieu of, instead they go and want to protect this group that makes up their own issues. More often than not, we are more focused on people's feelings and false sense of reality rather than protecting children and the rest of society. And until that changes, we will keep ending up in the same position over and over again right here. And that's all I have to say about that. Thank you, cousins, for tuning in for another episode. Tell me, am I being too harsh? Am I crashing out too much? Or do you understand what it is that I'm having to say? Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will see you soon.